Episode 1, Coach Bill Bowerman spent years cutting apart running shoes in search of speed. Then he found inspiration during breakfast. A normal person would have added butter and syrup to the waffle iron. Bill added industrial material. That choice helped create one of Nike's most famous early innovations, and ended the cooking career of one completely innocent kitchen appliance. Welcome back to Hidden Minds Behind Famous Things. This is the story of how Bill Bowerman transformed a breakfast pattern into a running sole, helped give young Nike its engineering identity, and accidentally created what may be history's least edible waffle. If you have ever stared at a household appliance and thought, I could make shoes with that, distrust is for you. Also, please do not. Bowerman wanted a sole that could grip the new artificial tracks without using traditional metal spikes. At breakfast, he noticed the waffle iron's raised grid. The small raised squares could press into the ground, while the open channels might keep the sole flexible and light. His brain made the connection instantly. Barbara probably saw an appliance. Bill saw a prototype mold. This is the danger of marrying an inventor. Nothing in the house is ever just itself. Bowerman poured urethane into the waffle iron. The first attempt did not produce a perfect sole. The material stuck. The machine was damaged. Breakfast technology had collided with footwear chemistry, and breakfast technology lost. Barbara had sacrificed a useful appliance to athletic progress without exactly volunteering it. Bill, however, was encouraged. Even a messy failure showed that the grid pattern could work. He kept experimenting until he produced a flexible sole with waffle-shaped traction. The concept was simple but clever. Instead of a few sharp metal spikes, the sole used many small rubber lugs spread across a wider area. They could grip dirt, grass, and artificial surfaces. The spaces between them reduced weight and helped the shoe flex with the runner's foot. It was traction without carrying a tiny medieval weapon beneath each shoe. The design was practical, relatively inexpensive, and looked as if somebody had stepped directly into breakfast. In 1972, Nike produced handmade shoes with waffle-style soles for runners at the U.S. Olympic track and field trials. They later became known as the Moon Shoes because their tread marks resembled footprints left by astronauts. Only a small number were made. These were not polished mass-market products. They were early experiments assembled with the urgency and optimism of a young company trying to prove that its strange little shoe could run with the giants. Nike kept refining the concept. In 1974, the company released the Waffle Trainer. Its lightweight upper and distinctive rubber outsole made it useful on several surfaces. Recreational running was booming in America, and the shoe arrived at exactly the right moment. Runners wanted comfort, traction, and less weight. Nike offered all three. Suddenly, the experiment born beside a breakfast plate had become a commercial success. The waffle iron had lost, but the waffle pattern had won. Was the waffle shoe literally the first shoe to carry the Nike name? Not quite. Nike had other early models, including running and football shoes. But Bowerman's waffle sole became one of the young company's first defining innovations. It gave Nike something more valuable than a single product: an identity. Study athletes, identify a problem, experiment aggressively, and build a better tool, even if the first prototype gets stuck inside a kitchen appliance. Nike expanded rapidly through the 1970s and beyond. New sports, new athletes, and new technologies followed. But Bowerman's workshop philosophy remained at the center. Can the shoe be lighter? Can it grip better? Can it move more naturally with the athlete? Modern footwear is designed with computers, advanced materials, and laboratories full of equipment. Bowerman began with hand tools, observation, and a willingness to make the household breakfast situation extremely awkward. For years, the original waffle iron seemed lost. After Bowerman's death, a rusty waffle iron and shoemaking materials were reportedly discovered buried near his former home. The appliance was preserved as an artifact of Nike history. That is quite a career. It began by making breakfast, became an experimental mold, spent years underground, and ended up in a museum collection. Most kitchen appliances are lucky if anyone remembers where the instruction manual went. Bill Bowerman died in 1999. But his influence still runs through athletic footwear. He coached champions, helped popularize jogging, and co-founded a global company. Yet his most memorable innovation began with an ordinary act of attention. He saw a familiar pattern and connected it to an unsolved problem. The first attempt was messy. The appliance broke. But the idea worked. Innovation is not always a lightning bolt. Sometimes it is a waffle you cannot eat. The next time you see a patterned running sole, remember Bill Bowerman, and perhaps spare a thought for Barbara's waffle iron. One coach's curiosity helped turn a breakfast grid into an idea that shaped running history. If you enjoyed this hidden story, like the video, follow the channel, and share it with someone who loves sports, inventions, or unusually expensive old shoes. And tomorrow morning, please let your toaster know that it is safe. For now.